So let's talk about how you fire your friends and keep a profitable business. And I want to start off with showing you what it feels like because it feels very painful. Here's a quick video of me that I did a couple of years ago. And I'll pause right there. It's a vlog that I did 2 years ago, and you can go watch it. And it's the hardest thing I've ever done as a CEO, or one of the hardest things I've done as a CEO. And it was letting go of a dear, dear, dear friend on the team. And it's really hard to do it. But I wanted to preface this video with that because I think if you can see the pain that it causes, like, that, it's not just, I'm not giving some random advice here, like, trying to be a tough guy or anything like that. It's just, it's just my view of it and how I have done it and how it has led to a profitable business and actually very healthy relationships. And I kind of want to show you that. So there's a lot of pain that we deal with, and there's a lot of emotional pain that we deal with before we ever even end up pulling the trigger, before we end up even doing this. So there's a lot of psychological pain that happens before. And then there's a lot of pain that happens afterwards too. And how you navigate that is really, really important. So I've had, situations where friends have left on good terms. I have friends leave on like bad terms. And navigating those is really important because there are a lot of implications of this and what can happen later on as years go by. And I'm going to speak from a conscious perspective. So, like, let's just say I don't want to say spiritual, but I'm going to speak from just a pure conscious, let's just call it sleep better at night perspective. Right. And then I'll also speak on this from just a general perspective of a business perspective as well. Okay. So an biz/objective perspective. Okay. So we'll speak about this from both perspectives because all of that is really important because we want to have a profitable business. We also want to be able to, let's just call it make more money perspective. Okay. So just so it's simple, sleep better at night perspective and make more money perspective. Okay. So those are all really important when it comes to learning, to dealing with how to fire your friends. So I want to preface it with this. I've built my business, Clever Programmer, and we got it to over 1 million subscribers, a couple of $1 million a year. And this is my new channel, Rafik Hazi, that I'm building from scratch. And so I had to learn these lessons and they were really hard. So in order to build this business, I've had to work with over 30 full-time people. And a lot of these were friends. Okay. And some people were just like general contractors that, weren't necessarily friends, but people I hired along the way to help me, and built a business that has done like over 5 million and dollars. And so in order to do all of this, I had to go through a lot of hard things that come with this. And when it comes to friends, what was happening with me was I was bringing on a ton of friends who were awesome people. We had a great vibe, and I brought them onto the team. And some friends were there primarily because they were good friends. Some friends were there because they were also incredibly competent people and killing it. And don't get me wrong, a lot of my friends were killing it on my team and were absolutely amazing. But then what happened was there would be these times where we would make a lot of money. So we would have like these times where we'd be making, I don't know, like let's just say 300K a month, but revenue, right? And what would be happening as a result, because I had such a bloated team, is we'd be doing like 290K in expenses. And so when you actually calculated it, it was maybe 10K in profit, maybe. Most of the times it wasn't even that. And I was like, first of all, I realized that I don't want to be in this situation, right, where I have such little profit left. And these months that I'm mentioning here weren't average months, okay? These are like some of like the best months. This is not average, right? Average would be between, there were 50K months, and then there were, 150K months, 300K months, and then I've had many months that were way smaller than that. So by no means this is the average, but I'm just trying to highlight that the profit margins were so damn low. And in order to deal with this, there's a few different ways you can go. But when I was doing this, right, my stress levels were 10. My anxiety started to become a 10. And I've never been a person that's been like anxious. I just am a very calm person, and like I'm emotional, but I'm like overall, like I just enjoy what I'm doing and I work peacefully on that. And here I was doing all of this and then just having a ton of worries around it. And I realized that, okay, this level of stress is not worth the amount of money that I'm making as a result of it. Like, to me, making 300K to have stress levels 10, like to make 10K profit, essentially, to have stress levels at a 10 and anxiety level at a 10, it wasn't worth it. And so I realized, like, let's say that if I fire 10 people, what would happen is, I'll just give you a random example. What would happen is expenses would become 200K. Okay, let's actually go here. So I'll put this here. So if I fired 10 people, expenses would become 200K. And like, just for simplicity, income would become like 190K income. Because as those people would leave, this is just a very linear, simple example, but as those people would leave, the income would go from, or actually the other way, sorry. So it was like 200K income and 190K expenses. So as 10 people leave, each person, you drop 10K in income. And so income becomes this, expenses become this. But when you actually like do the math underneath, it's like, well, the profit is still the same. So the profit is the same. The stress has, and all really that's changed is stress levels have gone down to like a 5, and anxiety has gone down to a 5. And I can think more peacefully and I can work more peacefully. And my business risk is reduced, meaning that now, let's just say that I had a cash runway. Okay, so I'll give you guys this example as well. So this is important for business owners to understand. Okay, so like let's go here, and let's say that my runway here, runway means if I have zero income coming in for, I'll give you an example. So, okay, example of runway. So here's what that means. If I have 100K stored away, cash, and I have, let's say, zero income coming in, but I still have 10K a month expenses, right? Expenses. That means my runway, in this case, is 10 months. And that's how you always want to calculate runway. You just want to assume zero income. Even if you have income incoming, you don't want to think that. When you're calculating runway, you just want to go off of like how much cash you have and how much expenses. Because cash and expenses are guaranteed. Because cash is already in your bank account and expenses are upcoming. But income is not guaranteed. Income can change and you can lose money and you can lose all your customers or whatever, like kind of overnight, right? And so that meant that I would have 10 months of runway. So when I say runway, that's really what I mean by that. Okay. So in this case, what would happen in this 300K a month revenue scenario, if I showed you the runway would be like, let's say 2 months. Okay. Just giving a simple example here. But in this scenario where I fire a bunch of people and now expenses are much lower, in this case, runway would be like 4 to 5 months. Okay. I mean, again, these are just random examples that I'm putting here. Not every single number is perfect, but runway would increase significantly, and if you're looking at it in different terms, like 2 years becomes like 4 years, right? So you earning 2 entire years is very useful for when it comes to like generating more profits, generating new products, having more time to think and re-strategize and not doing things you absolutely hate. So it's really, really important. And these are the things that actually lead to you looking into firing your friends, right? Looking into firing people. So this is the first thing you have to understand. Now, generally what happens when you fire people is income doesn't drop this linearly. You don't drop 10 people and then all of a sudden lose 100K a month income. What actually happens is when you fire a bunch of people is instead of making 300K a month income that you might have had here, your income more realistically will drop down to like 250K income, because you'll realize that a lot of those people you didn't actually need. There was a ton of stuff that you could do without them. And what would happen to profit is profit would become actually like 60K. And that is a huge jump. And what actually happened is if you ignore the revenue literally doesn't mean dick. So just ignore revenue numbers. Only look at the profit numbers, right? This is the only thing that matters because that's the only thing that's left. So if you actually look at these, what you've actually done is you've improved your business 6 times. Like, what if I told you that you could do something, right? That, imagine if I told you, hey, what if you could do something that was free? Give me 1 second. So imagine, right? I was like, it's something that's free. You could do it instantly. And it will make you $720,000 profit. And it has 0 fulfillment. And it has high LTV, guaranteed, because this is a trick that I learned. Cutting expenses has the highest LTV of everything ever. If you cut your expenses, if you cut, if you add a new client, right, and let's say they pay you $1,000 or $5,000 per month, well, they will stay with you for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, but then at some point they might leave, right? So there's a high churn there. And the LTV is not that high because they'll stay for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, whatever, right? And you might make 10, 20, 30K. If you cut off an expense, that will have no churn. It'll have 0 churn because it will stay cut off forever. And so it's something like high LTV, right? 0 churn and no fulfillment, happens instantly with almost no effort, but will cause a lot of emotional pain. When you actually start to think from a business perspective and you start looking at all the benefits, honestly, they start outweighing the emotional pain. And the emotional pain part is really, really hard, but I learned a secret that I'm going to share with you that actually starts making it really easy to be able to fire your friends or fire anybody. With the hacks, with one key hack that I'll tell you about, right? So here's the thing that helped me. So what the truth is, you won't be able to make this decision objectively because I wasn't able to, even though objectively I understood all this, I was not able to make this decision objectively. It was just way too hard. Even though I was like, at the end of the day, it's a business that I'm running and it's not a friendship group that I'm running, I still felt emotional pain because I felt like they were family members almost. And I felt like, we had a bond, we had a brother and sisterhood, and like, I don't want to lose anybody. And so I wanted to keep everybody there and not let them down. And I was like ruining their family. So there was a lot of emotional pain that I felt. And I'm going to break down where that emotional pain might be coming from for you, because this is where it was coming from for me. And once that happens, you'll be able to make this decision that literally overnight just like 10x's your business. Okay. So let me share that with you. So the key insight I realized was this. Okay. So when you have your friends, what you imagine is this. Okay. You imagine that this is you guys, okay? So like, let's say your friend, and I did it a little funny way, but like, let's just say your friend, and then that's you. Okay, ignore my handwriting, it's bad, but who cares? All right, so this is a situation, right? It's your friend and you. And what you think is, you go biz plus friendship, and you start to think it's one and the same. So you go, if I cut, we're on this journey together and we're right here, and you have this vision, right? So you're here, and you have this vision with them where you're like, man, we're going to be here one day and we're going to be making like, $1 bajillion together, and we're going to be crushing it. And that's your goal for future. You're like, we're going to be just having this amazing lifestyle. And then somewhere, or yeah, let's not even say here. Let's say this is where you guys start, right? And then somewhere in the journey, you're like, oh man, I have this friend. I paid them, or this person on my team, I pay them like whatever, pick a number, $3,000 a month. They're literally not bringing $3,000 of value, because I would want them to be making $9,000 a month on top of them. They're not like tripling. This is the good rule to think by, right? If somebody on your team isn't tripling what you pay them, if they aren't triply fulfilling or triply bringing in this amount of money, fire them, because there's no reason to have them. And again, I'll explain to you how you can fire them, right? Because that's the whole guide. This is why you're here. So, you kind of realize from an ROI perspective, it doesn't make sense. And there are other editors that can do a better job, because that happened to me where I was like, dude, I have editors that can do a way better job, can do it for way cheaper. I can pay other editors like $1,000 a month, and they will literally outperform and do a better job than this friend that I have that I pay $3,000 to $4,000 to $5,000 per month. And I don't need to like keep paying. Like, I'm literally paying a tax for friendship. So I'm paying like a $4,000 a month extra tax for friendship. So like, I'm such a nice and generous guy that I pay $48,000 a year for friendship for each person. And then other people I've purchased friendship from. And so you realize that this is the point where you gotta cut them off. Okay, but you can't do it because you think, well, when you cut them off, what's actually going to happen is you're going to cut off the business relationship and you're going to cut off the friendship. That's what kept happening to me. I thought you cut both, and there's really no way to have both the friendship and the business business. I thought it was like there's no way to separate them. There's just one way. And what I realized is, this is the thing that's actually wrong. This is the thing that's causing all those problems. Because what started happening was, I went and I started like firing some friends and some people on my team, because I at some point couldn't take the pain and couldn't take like being out of money and all of that, right? So I was like, screw this sucks. I have to get rid of them, and I have to lower the team. So I went from like 30 people to now I have like 2 people, and we're profitable and we have a healthy business and all of that stuff. And so what I realized, what kept happening was, like, again, this is you, right? is instead of this thing being one, what ends up happening is this is your journey here. This is their journey here. And you lose the business. Okay? You lose the business. So this gets lost. You guys aren't like doing business together anymore. But you, with the right friends, you actually keep the friendship. So, you know, some of my really good friends I was able to keep friendship with them because they remained friends even after. If they're truly your friends, they will be your friends even after. And if they're not going to be your friends after, most likely they're just not friends. They were there to work with you and have a working relationship, and that's great. But they weren't true friends anyways, right? And you kind of find that out. And so it's like, don't have fake friendships, because I think I was trying to fill a void or some shit. I have no idea. But this is the thing. And so when that happened, what I realized was like, I could still call this friend every time I went for a walk, and we would brainstorm ideas, and it was fun. So it fed my friendship, and we would brainstorm ideas, and I would brainstorm ideas for my friend's like YouTube channel. And then he would brainstorm ideas for like my business, or just brainstorm ideas for my relationship or something. And we still did that and brought value to each other. So there's still a value exchange going on. There's still like a deep sense of friendship. And we felt like we did have a thing in common. We were still giving each other value, and we still had friendship. And so we were continuing our own storylines. But it's not as separated as you might think. It's kind of like connected. Right? These storylines, I can't really build a chain, but just imagine this is a chain here. These storylines are connected. And I was able to maintain friendship with a lot of the people that I cared about. And I still can call them. And I realized with a lot of them, all I actually needed their help for was actually their energy, which I could have for free as a friend. So there's like literally okay, video cut off, but let's keep going. So energy, which was I could have as a friend. All right, I could get that. And then the other thing was like brainstorming was a huge thing that was helpful. Most of the times, like the work thing, the pure work. So let's say I have a friend who's an editor who's editing for me. Well, I can outsource editing and I can give it to other people. And so if I found contractors that were significantly cheaper and I paid them only on project basis, I made sure they were really good, but that work can be done by somebody else. And the work wasn't really a problem. These were the things that, you know, were big for me. And what I realized is like I could still have energy, I could still have brainstorming, and then of course like the vibes, right? Like the good relationship, the vibes, however you want to say it. This was also a huge part. And if you have a friend, you could still actually keep that. So when this started to happen to me, where I started having multiple friends and I could keep friendships with them, you know, and there was like many times it happens where either I fired them or they left on their own. A bunch of my good friends left on their own, right? And when that happened, I still maintained a friendship with them. And I'm like, oh my God, it's amazing. So like, you know, my good friend, Daniel, he used to work with me and then he left. And I still have an amazing relationship with him. Nas, another good friend, really good friend, left. And we still have a great relationship when we speak with each other and we call each other. And now we're sharing ideas on both of our businesses. We're sharing ideas on how we're making more money, or how we can cut costs in places, or what's the plan for the future. And we're there to support each other. If one of us is feeling down or alone or feels like we can't do it, we're there to support each other and, you know, have each other's back. And once I did that enough times, I realized that there's a beautiful place where you could have everything. You still keep the friendship. You keep all the benefits of the friendship that you had. You can potentially still have the things that you valued and you were paying for, right? Like the things you were literally paying for. You could still have those. But you don't have to pay them. Because if their work was the thing that you could replace with somebody who you could pay a lot lower, and those people could still get the job done and could do it long term, then you don't need to have a friend to do that. Okay. And that was a key thing. When I realized that, I started to, go from dreading these moments. And what I would do is I would just like wait it out. If there was a friend where I was like, man, this is just not good, like I probably have to let this friend go or something, I would just wait for them to leave. And the people that I mentioned, they were so phenomenal. I was very devastated when they left because they were awesome. But there were a bunch of other people that I had and friends that I had that were like, if they left, the whole business wouldn't crumble. And I just didn't have the guts to go and have an upfront conversation with them. So I would just wait for them to just leave and get out of the business themselves. And sometimes I might take a year or 2 years longer and just wouldn't have the guts to do it. And then once I realized that this is what happens after death, you realize, oh my God, it's like, oh, there's heaven after death. So then the concept of death doesn't actually feel that scary. It's like, look, after you break off the business relationship you guys have this pure, beautiful friendship relationship where you get all the benefits of everything, like tangibly speaking, objectively speaking, and you still get the emotional benefits of having that friend support you. So you have both. You have both of those things. You now have profit and you have friendship. Okay. And, obviously I always say profit and all this stuff, but like peace, you have peace. You don't have that crazy stress. You got rid of that crazy burden that you have. And so once I realized that kept happening constantly with multiple of my friends, what I realized is, okay, what I actually need to do is I need to, whenever I'm thinking about breaking a person off of my business and firing them, whether it's a friend or a contractor, I just imagine a future. I imagine a future where I'm more profitable. I imagine a future where I'm more peaceful. I imagine a future where they have a job that they actually like better. I imagine a future where they're getting paid more. I imagine a future where we still have our friendship. I imagine this future with them, future that I've had with multiple of my friends. I imagine this with them, and I imagine, well, this is what's going to happen. They're just going to become another good friend. If I value their friendship and they value mine, vice versa, they're going to become a friend. We're going to go and in our own journeys, instead of being in the same business, we're going to be in separate businesses, meaning either they're hired by somebody else or they build their own business. But we can still share the journey, and I just increase my profits, peace, we'll keep the friendship, and not have to pay all that. So once I could just envision that future, what I started envisioning is what started helping me with getting on these calls to fire people, because I've gone through layoffs, like where I've laid off 10, 20 people at a time. And those were really hard. But what I got to at the end was just like, I would be on the call and I know I would be dreading it, but I would just keep thinking and visualizing like 3 to 6 months from now, they're going to be getting paid more. I'm going to be way less stressful, and I could just experience that relief. So if I could just anchor it to one word, it would be this: relief. I could just visualize the relief that I would get if I could just cross this line and fire. Beyond this, so here is stress. This is what I'm feeling right now, stress and like expenses. And here's relief and profits. And if I just can cut this cord, right? This is where I'm at right now. But if I just cut that cord, beyond that line lies relief. And I could visualize that. So instead of me thinking and keeping my eyes on stress and thinking about how stressful it's going to be when I fire this friend and break that off and they're going to feel betrayed and all of that, I just kept my eyes on the relief I will feel, the peace I will feel, the relief they will feel, the peace they will feel eventually. And both of us will end up making more money anyways, because they'll find the right role for them and I will find the right role for me, and we'll end up having relief, profits, and a successful business at the end. Okay. So once I could just visualize and anchor my mind on this, it became actually a lot easier. And still, it's not completely easy. It's still hard. But now I can do it over and over and over again. And I've done it so many times that I don't feel any type of way about it. And it's not because I've gotten colder. I would legitimately say because I've gotten wiser, where I can see that I still keep a good relationship. The pain came from losing the friendship and the relationship. That's where the pain came from. And when I realized that it's just like I could look at it like a business transaction, no different than cutting off a subscription. But again, with humanity in mind and all of that, right? If they need a runway, I will make sure that I give them a runway for 2 months, 3 months. I've done that many times in the past. I will go above and beyond for what's fair. If they only worked 1 day that month, I'll end up paying them for the entire month, because the last thing I want is ended on bad blood. I've had that happen with certain employees, with certain like people who were friends, and ended on bad terms. And because it ended on bad terms, the business relationship ended, and the friendship ended as well. So just remember, like, if you ever have an opportunity, always try to end it on good terms. If you don't end it on good terms, that's when you will lose the friendship. That's when you will lose the business side as well. You will lose both. So you have to end it on good terms. That's the key secret. Okay, good terms. Like that's how you have to leave. If you don't do that, you will for sure lose both. Okay, because that's happened to me. Where ending it on bad terms, I've lost the friendships. It happened with really, really good friends of mine. And so you don't want to do that. You don't want to do this, like where you end it on bad terms. End it on good terms. Give them more money. Have a conversation with them. Let them know the situation that you're in. Don't be cold. And just be like, hey, this is a situation. We have to end our working relationship, but how can I help you and support you? You know, do you need a runway? Do you need how are you? Are you fine? Can you apply to places? But I'm in a situation where I have a lot of stress and anxiety, and I have a lot of expenses, and I just can't keep up with that. And so if they're your friends or people who you would consider, care about you, they will understand that it's psychologically very hard for you. And they will most of the time just tell you if they need a runway or they don't, and I trust them, So it's like some people, when they're leaving, they tell me, yeah, they need a 1 month runway or 2 months runway. A lot of other times, people are like, no, I'm okay. Either way, like, thank you for letting me know. And so you could still keep it on good terms. So this is really the main thing. Okay. Hopefully you understood how you could sleep better at night. Okay, so we covered this by making sure you guys leave on good terms. We covered how can you, from a make more money perspective, it works too, because you still keep all the key things of that friendship. And you realize that most of the times what I realize is, if I needed their brainstorming, I could just pay for that for consulting. And for most people, that they won't charge you more than $25 to $50 an hour for that. And so you go from paying them $5,000 a month. You go from paying, like, I'm just writing in random places now, $5,000 a month, to like you realize you could pay them like $300 a month, and you could still get the consulting, the brainstorming, everything, even if you didn't want to do it as a friend where you exchange your brainstorming for their brainstorming. And so you can now have this valuable friendship exchange. Even if you want to do it purely like transactional, you could then just pay them for the value that they bring, which is brainstorming most of the times, and then have other people who implement at fraction of the price. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay. This is really the way I've figured out how to fire friends while being able to sleep better at night, and while being able to make more money at the end of the day, have more profit. And hopefully this was valuable to you. So that's it. That's all I got for you. Hopefully you enjoyed it. As always, I love your face. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.